So it's 10 o'clock in Germany. Let's start with our webinar. Welcome to China Brand's webinar series part 2, Data Protection in China. I see many participants from the first part 2 weeks ago. Welcome back. And for our other new participants, in case you missed the first part of the series, that's no problem at all. We will quickly summarize the first part in a minute. But if you would like more detailed information, you can also watch the recording on our YouTube channel. If you just type in China Brand on YouTube, you will immediately find us and all our videos and webinar recordings so far. My name is Tamara and I'm here today with my dear colleague Liu Liu.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Liu Liu.
In case you have any questions in the course of this webinar, feel free to use the chat function in the small navigation of this webinar here, and we will answer it in the Q&A session at the end. And also you will get all the slides afterwards, so if you find it a little bit hard to follow the text and our voices, don't worry, you can read it all afterwards in detail again. So let's start. Here, I will give you some background information explaining why your presence today with us is crucial. As you probably already know, not only global data protection regulation increases, especially China's regulations are becoming stricter year over year. And one upcoming deadline, it's just 7 days away, requires companies to have already initiated the process of achieving compliance with all Chinese laws. And one problem that we discover pretty often is that departments are often unaware of data protection standards and have not documented data flows yet. And that can lead easily to fines, business disruption, or other future risk for your company. So today we give you a 3-layered approach that we are presenting, and you are able to find your best situational fit with this approach. With this, you can evaluate all your cross-border data transfers, and you will be able to meet the upcoming deadline in 1 week. So what you can see here is our recommended 3-step approach. In our last webinar 2 weeks ago, we discussed the topic of data analysis and data mapping as the 2 initial steps towards achieving cross-border compliance in China. So I will quickly go through the first webinar. So the first webinar in a nutshell. Data analysis, what does this involve? It involves evaluating and analyzing the type, scope, and sensitivity of your collected data within your system. It also complies conducting a threshold analysis and risk management documentation, while data mapping is the process of identifying and documenting the flow of data through your organization's processes and systems. So it is necessary to undergo these processes to achieve compliance with Chinese laws, because this helps your business to understand and manage the handling of personal information, and with that, it ensures adherence to China's specific data protection regulations. Because in the end, you need this documentation for becoming compliant. This is crucial for the authorities. So if you're now wondering whether data analysis and data mapping plays a role for you and should be conducted, the clear answer from us is yes. It forms the foundation and constitutes the first 2 steps on the compliance ladder that is necessary to follow if you're operating in China. So how does it look in practice? Here you can see an example out of our practice in conducting a data mapping. This is our standard document that we use in our projects. It's a little bit small, but maybe you can see it's written in Chinese and it's divided in each department. So data activities of each department are documented here. It is written in Chinese, but of course we provide it also in English and or German. But Chinese is important, as I already said, for the authorities. So that was basically wrapped up the topic of our last webinar. And now today we will dive into step 3, the topic of personal information assessment and the Chinese Standard Contractual Clauses. So authorities in China have taken proactive steps to align with international best practices, and particularly those derived from European standards. One example of such a standard is the Standard Contractual Clause, what you can see here. But it's modified to Chinese laws and with Chinese characteristics. So what is it, basically? It provides a standardized framework for exporting personal information outside the People's Republic of China. And these Chinese standard contractual clauses are subject to Chinese law, of course, and utilize Chinese laws and jurisdictions. So they have some unique characteristics that differ from the ones you maybe know from the European Union and you maybe already have for your company. So I will give you one example. If you're, for example, located in the UK and you have subsidiaries in China and they use IT systems that are localized in the UK, and you as the headquarters, you can access these IT systems. In this case, such a contract with the data recipient must be signed. And here you can see how such an official document required by the Chinese authorities will look like. And the precondition of this contractual clause is always the personal information assessment. So in case you ask yourself now, and we get this question sometimes, do I need both documents? Is it necessary? Yes, because for filing the executed standard contract, the personal information assessment needs to be submitted, and the assessment needs to be conducted within 3 months before the effective date of the standard contractual clause. So these two documents are depending on each other. And in the condition that you transfer personal information beyond the threshold, you should apply for the data export security assessment to the Cyberspace Administration of China. So now we had one case when these two documents are required. What are more situations? When exactly are they required? So firstly, as I already said, when you or your subsidiary exporting personal information outside of China, you need both documents. And there's another case when you need it. If a process of any sensitive personal information is happening, so that means even if there's no cross-border data transfer, if you process sensitive personal information inside of China in your subsidiary and you don't transfer it to your headquarters in the UK or Germany, for example, you are required to conduct an assessment. And what does it mean, for example, if you are saving ID numbers of your Chinese employees or bank accounts because you are transferring salary each month, or you save medical history when someone is on sick leave, you are required to conduct this assessment. And another case would be if you are entrusting another party to process personal information on its behalf. For example, a lot of our clients and its respective Chinese subsidiaries are working with an external HR agency because this is not part of the subsidiary inside. And in this case, an assessment is also required. And of course, if you have other high-risk data processing activities, you need it as well. So I guess when you're attending this webinar today, you probably do export personal information outside of China. And in this case, you need this assessment and the Chinese Standard Contractual Clause for the legal export of personal information. And the final version of this regulation became effective this year on June 1st with a 6 months grace period for personal information exports. And this date is now this crucial deadline in 7 days, November 30. So this is the background of this regulation. And if you find yourself a little bit uncertain about the details of your data processing activities, we would advise you to start with the data analysis. Regardless of your current stage in your Chinese data protection journey, we would advise you to just start now. This is the crucial step, and just take some proactive measures. This ensures that in the event Chinese authorities reach out to you, you can assert that you've started. This is placing you in a secure position. Yes, so now I will hand over to my colleague Leo, who will give you more insights and details, as well as share some experiences of our daily projects regarding to this assessment and the standard contractual clauses.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, my dear colleague Tamara. Next, I will introduce our experience in the cross-border data transfer compliance project and how we assist our clients, the European multinational companies, in addressing the challenges brought by China. For the headquarters of multinational companies, the ever-changing Chinese legislation and cultural differences pose significant headaches. So in the cross-border data transfer project, coordinating communication between the headquarters and the subsidiaries in China, as well as with the local Chinese cyberspace administration, presents a great challenge for multinational companies. And China Brand, our diverse team, comprising IT consultants, legal advisors, local experts, and cultural communicators, ensures effective coordination between the multi-parties, the headquarters, subsidiaries, and Chinese government. We address the challenges by streamlining the communication and keeping us and you staying updated on legal changes and bridging cultural gaps and motivating the employees for a successful compliance solution. And another challenge for the cross-border data transfer compliance project is that unlike the headquarters filled with cybersecurity, data protection, compliance culture, and even obtaining the ISO certifications, the subsidiaries are often newly established with incomplete infrastructure, and the local teams without any data protection background may not prioritize the compliance in their daily operations, leading to a lack of implementation of cybersecurity and data protection measures, such as you can see from the picture, the absence of encryption for the sensitive information in storage and transmission level, and the weak password policies, and irregular software and hardware update, creating the significant cybersecurity risks for data leakage. Headquarters cannot effectively solve this problem and supervise this, and due to their unfamiliarity with Chinese regulations and national standards, they cannot provide guidance on this point as well. It's not enough just copy-paste the documentation of the German data protection compliance system into the Chinese subsidiary. It doesn't work. Just see the picture. Don't think this photo is outdated. Actually, we have been to the local subsidiaries of clients in the previous and ongoing projects, and we have seen the same thing. Most subsidiaries have taken almost no measures in the field of data protection compliance. I want to emphasize that just simply signing the standard contractual clauses doesn't ensure everything is in order. It's just the beginning. Doesn't ensure the compliance. In fact, signing the standard contractual clauses and filing them with the Chinese local government only demonstrates to the Chinese government that both the data exporter and the data importer commit to Chinese legislation, commit to Chinese jurisdiction, and adopting the reasonable corresponding protection measures to protect the transmitted data. If there are no actual protective measures in place and data leakages occurs, the local government will still investigate and even punish your subsidiaries. So before signing your standard contractual clauses, it's crucial to ensure that subsidiaries and the overseas data recipients, such as the headquarters, have reached a certain level of data protection, have adopted reasonable protective measures, conducted a personal information protection impact assessment, which is mentioned by my colleague, and generated an impact assessment report. And lately, we have also observed that China has released a new draft regulation with the primary aim of urging all data processors in China, meaning all companies that handles personal information, to undergo the data protection compliance audits. It appears that China is shifting its approach, just moving away from a focus on the formal contract signing, and instead emphasizing that all businesses in China must adopt specific data protection measures and attain a certain level of data protection capability. And this screenshot on this page displays our results of our personal information protection impact assessment report. And this is also the document you have to file together with the signed standard contractual clauses to the Chinese local cyberspace administration. It's worth noting that the IT architecture adopted by multinational companies is quite complex, deploying different systems at the local and the global levels. For example, one case is that the German headquarters may use an IT system with a data center in Ireland, provided and the IT system maintenance system is the IT service is provided by US companies, and subsidiaries upload the data to the system. The German headquarters and the US company may access it for system maintenance purposes or any other purposes. So in such cases, the subsidiaries or the headquarters may not have a clear understanding of the processed data and its actual application, let alone how to conduct a risk assessment for such cross-border data transfer scenarios. And we can provide you with a clear overview of data processing, data mapping results, and assess the security measures taken by the headquarters and the subsidiaries. During our assessment, if we identify the security vulnerabilities, we will provide also the corresponding legal document or the organizational structure document for you to implement, or offer the technical recommendations according to the Chinese national standards until all the legal and technical risks are minimized. Ultimately, we will produce a personal information protection impact assessment report for you to file along with the standard contractual clauses and keep on records internally as well. Now I will pass the microphone to my colleague Tamara. Welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you, Leo, for the detailed explanation. Okay, so before we go into answering your questions you may have after all these detailed informations, I will give you a short summary of what we just discussed and what we want you to know from today's webinar. So the deadline to initiate your data protection measures in China, as already said, is just 7 days away. But even if it is essential to ensure compliance in China, no questions on that. Once you started the process, you can be rest assured that you're on the safe side. So if you call us in the morning of the 29th this month, we can provide you with a statement that we already started the process, that you started with us your compliance journey, and that can serve as a proof for the authorities. So it's not too late, don't panic. And we all know it's nearly impossible for the authorities to check all data protection measures in a single day. So no need to panic, but please keep in mind that this is the official announcement, this is the official deadline, and it should not be taken too lightly. So what you can do today, just take the first step. You can communicate with your subsidiary and instruct your department heads to document data processings in detail. Provide some background information so that everyone can contribute effectively in this company. Then you can follow our three-layered approach. And if you transfer personal information outside of China, a protection impact assessment and a standard contractual clause is needed, and we can help you with that. From our office in Munich, we are based in Germany, and we have also all our colleagues on site in China. So that's also no problem to do it on site. So that was the content for today. Let's see if we got some questions in the chat. Let me check. Yes, we have a few already. Do you want to take the first one? Okay, I can also read it out. Yes, here is it. Okay, you said that non-compliance may lead to fines and business disruption in the beginning. Could you explain that a little bit further and maybe give an example? Oh yeah, of course. So the fines are depending actually on the specific violation and jurisdiction. So, but they can be quite hefty. We are lucky that we don't have an example for you. But we read officially from authorities that it is possible that you can get a fine up to 1 million renminbi. So that would be like approximately 140,000 US dollar, 145 around this sum. So this only for the money part. And it's not only for the company, but also for the person in charge in this company that bears direct responsibility. They will also be fined and liable to a fine, also quite hefty. And in addition to that, you can also lose your business license. They can cancel your business permits. And of course, your reputation is damaged afterwards. You will face maybe some legal battles. And I think reputation in China is especially important. So if it once damaged, you probably lost your face, and that's a big issue in China. It affects customer loyalty. You lost confidence of your investors, and overall your business sustainability is not there anymore. So yeah, we would not recommend it, but I hope this answered the first question in a little bit more detail. So there's a second one. I can read this out. We are a multinational company with one subsidiary in China, and the company in UK and in Germany both can access the IT systems in China. How many standard contractual clauses do we need? Oh, do you want to answer that question?
Yes, yeah, with pleasure. For this question, I would say the principle for signing the standard contractual clauses is that for one country which is receiving the data, one standard contract. So for two companies, one in UK and one in Germany, normally you should sign two different standard contractual clauses. But there is also some cases, I don't know the IT architecture, how it is looks like. For example, if one company is entrusted by another one to handle the data received in the UK or in the Germany, generally you can also only sign one standard contract and include this entrusted processing of another company in the standard contractual clauses and also in the personal information protection impact assessment is also doable. Yeah.
Great. Okay. We have a third one. That's an interesting one. In the beginning, it was written on the first slide, that early updates serves as an employee training. It is not clear what you exactly mean by that. Yes, that was on the first slide, that's right. I can go back to the first one and show you what we mean by that here. So on the third paragraph, the last sentence, early updates serve as employee training, kick-off data protection. So yeah, that's interesting, because we often have the case that when we first get in touch with different departments to conduct data mapping interviews or data assessment, and we usually interview the respective responsible people. And we fill out a questionnaire together, and then we go into more details to ask what is happening, what data activities are happening. And it's often the case that we discover that these people it's the first time that they get in touch with data. Well, that's also not right, because of course they get in touch with data. Everyone gets in touch with data on a daily basis, but usually people are not thinking about this, that they handle data. And then we start to ask them questions like, can you explain the type of data? Where does it come from? How do you save it? Where do you save it? And what is happening with the data afterwards? And it's really interesting, because you can clearly see during the interviews that in their mind, they're slowly building up data awareness and kind of data flow. So for example, when I ask Mrs. X, who handles HR activities in this department, from where did you get the resume of potential new employees? And then Mrs. X answered, oh, I get it from the external HR agency. And I ask, okay, how? And then she said, yeah, via email. I get an email into my, for example, Microsoft Outlook, and then I save it on my computer. And then we ask further, okay, and do you print it out? Do you save it on the local server? And what is happening afterwards? And then slowly this person starts to think about all the data activities on a daily basis. And yeah, that is interesting, because it's the first time that employees start to build data awareness of all the processes happening. And we also often have the case that after the interviews, we get some emails or calls again regarding this data activity, saying, oh, I remembered something else. I also transfer this email to Department X, and then it is handled like this. And then, yeah, and then we correct the report and update it. And so basically what we want to say here, that just these small steps, these small interviews can help your whole departments, all the employees in your company, to build data awareness. And in the next steps, it's so much easier to get all your data protection measures done. So this is some really nice side effects of the work we do here. It's really beautiful to see this involvement personally. Yeah, so that's what we meant by this sentence. Okay, so we are perfectly in time, 30 minutes over. If you have any more questions, feel free to give us a call, drop us a message, send us an email, letter, or whatever, however you want to contact us. We are on LinkedIn. Here are our contact details. Again, we would be more than happy to connect, leave a comment on YouTube as well. And yeah, thank you for attending, and we hope to see you in our next webinar.
Thank you for your time. Have a nice day.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.